Japan has kept its obesity rate under 5% for decades, the rest of the developed world spiraling past 30. And the gap is not closing, it is widening. But here's what nobody is talking about. Japanese people are not eating less. They are not counting calories. They are not suffering through restrictive diets or spending their mornings at the gym. They are eating specific foods, foods that have been on Japanese tables for centuries, that quietly reprogram how the body stores fat, regulates hunger, and manages blood sugar at a cellular level. And what is sitting at the center of all of it? One fermented food so powerful that laboratory studies show it can physically shrink visceral fat cells, the dangerous fat wrapped around your organs. And most people in the Western world will not go near it because of how it looks and smells. We are going to talk about that today. We are going to go deep on the science, real peer-reviewed research, and I am going to walk you through exactly how to use these foods starting today. Stay with me through this entire video, because food number 3 is the one most people completely skip over, and it contains a compound that does something to your fat cells that most doctors have never even mentioned to their patients. That explanation is coming, and it is worth waiting for. I am Dr. Steve Collins, physician and metabolic health researcher. And before we dive in, I want to ask you something quickly. How many of my videos have you watched without hitting subscribe yet? I hear from people all the time who have watched 6 or 7 and just never got around to it. If that is you, take 2 seconds right now and subscribe. It is completely free. It helps this channel reach more people who genuinely need evidence-based health information. Thank you. Now let us get into this. In this video, you are going to learn why Japan's lean population has almost nothing to do with genetics and everything to do with 5 specific dietary mechanisms. You are going to understand the biology, simply explained, so that this information actually sticks, and you are going to walk away with a practical framework you can start using today. No supplements required, no expensive programs, just food, prepared correctly, eaten consistently. The gut health piece especially, pay attention to that. Because once you understand how your gut bacteria are directly controlling your fat storage hormones, everything about weight management starts to make a different kind of sense. To understand why these Japanese foods work, you first need to understand what is happening inside your digestive system right now. Think of your gut like a massive production floor. Thousands of bacteria, your microbiome, are processing everything you eat. In a healthy, well-run gut, these bacteria are efficient. They extract nutrients, produce hormones that tell your brain you are full, reduce inflammation, and regulate how much fat your body holds onto. Everything runs smoothly. But here's the problem for most people eating a Western diet. That factory is in chaos. Years of processed food, refined sugar, and low-fiber eating have decimated the beneficial bacterial populations and replaced them with strains that do the opposite. Strains that make you hungrier, inflame your tissues, and instruct your body to store fat, particularly around your organs. That fat, visceral fat, is the dangerous kind. You cannot see it, you cannot pinch it, but it wraps itself around your liver, pancreas, and intestines, and it pumps out inflammatory chemicals that drive insulin resistance, accelerate aging, and increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. This is not about vanity, this is about biological function. And here is what makes the traditional Japanese diet so extraordinary. It is arguably the most powerful gut microbiome rebuilding diet on the planet. It floods your system with fermented foods, marine-based omega-3s, soluble fiber, and plant compounds called polyphenols, all of which work together to restock that factory with the most effective fat-regulating bacteria nature has ever produced. A large-scale global analysis examining 132 countries found that adherence to a traditional Japanese diet pattern, more fish, more fermented soy, more seaweed, more vegetables, less red meat, less processed dairy, was inversely correlated with obesity rates, even after controlling for income, healthcare access, and lifestyle factors. Countries that ate more like Japan were dramatically leaner, not slightly, dramatically. So what are these specific foods, and how exactly do they change your metabolism? Food 1. Natto. Natto is fermented soybeans. It is sticky, pungent, and has a texture that takes some getting used to. It is also one of the most metabolically powerful foods ever studied. Natto is made by fermenting soybeans with a bacterium called Bacillus subtilis. This fermentation process does something critical. It unlocks compounds that are largely unavailable in plain soybeans: bioactive enzymes, isoflavones, and live probiotic bacteria that survive stomach acid and reach your intestines alive. In your gut, these bacteria do something specific. They shift the ratio between 2 major bacterial families, Bacteroidetes and Firmicutes. A higher ratio of firmicutes relative to Bacteroidetes has been consistently linked to obesity in human research. When you eat natto regularly, you tip that ratio back toward the lean profile. A study published in the Journal of Molecular Nutrition and Food Research found that regular natto consumption significantly reduced visceral fat accumulation in a dose-dependent manner. The more people ate, the more the dangerous organ fat decreased. It also suppressed fatty acid synthesis in the liver, meaning the body produced less new fat and promoted fatty acid breakdown. The fermented form was substantially more effective than eating plain soybeans. Fermentation was the key. Eat 50 grams daily, roughly one small traditional pack. At breakfast, mixed with a small splash of soy sauce and a touch of mustard, exactly as eaten in Japan. If you cannot find fresh natto, frozen versions from Asian grocery stores work equally well. The bacteria reactivate fully after thawing. But here's the part that surprises most people when they first hear this. Food 2. Matcha green tea. Most Westerners drink steeped green tea. They pour hot water over a bag, let it sit, then throw the bag away. In Japan, matcha is consumed as a fine powder whisked directly into water, meaning you consume the entire leaf. This single difference in preparation delivers up to 137 times more of a compound called EGCG, epigallocatechin galate, compared to a standard steeped cup. EGCG is a catechin, a polyphenol, and what it does in the body is remarkable. It activates brown adipose tissue, a special type of fat that functions like an internal furnace. White fat stores energy. Brown fat burns energy to generate heat through a process called thermogenesis. A systematic review published in the journal Nutrients confirmed that green tea catechins upregulate a protein called UCP1, uncoupling protein 1, which is the molecular switch that turns this internal furnace on. When UCP1 is activated, your brown fat begins burning white fat as fuel. Research from the University of Geneva demonstrated that green tea extract produced a 4% increase in 24-hour energy expenditure. When researchers tested caffeine alone at the same dose, the effect was zero. It was specifically the catechin-caffeine combination that amplified noradrenaline signaling and kept the fat-burning switch active. Drink 1 to 2 teaspoons of ceremonial-grade matcha powder daily, approximately 2 to 3 grams, whisked into water heated to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Never boiling. High heat destroys the delicate catechins. Add a squeeze of lemon. It increases EGCG absorption up to 6 times. And never add cow's milk. The casein proteins in dairy bind to catechins and reduce absorption by up to 80%. Plant-based milks are fine. Before I continue, I want to ask you something directly. Have you ever lost weight, felt genuinely good about it, and then watched it slowly come back within a year, despite still trying? Drop a yes or a no in the comments right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps me understand what to focus on in future videos for people like you. Food 3. Miso soup. This is the one most people underestimate completely, and it is the one I want you to pay very close attention to. Miso is a fermented soybean paste. One bowl of traditionally prepared miso soup delivers something almost no other single food can: probiotics and prebiotic fiber simultaneously. The beneficial bacteria and the food those bacteria need to thrive in one serving. But the preparation detail matters enormously. You must use unpasteurized miso paste. Pasteurized miso has been heat treated, which kills the live cultures and eliminates the probiotic benefit entirely. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of unpasteurized miso paste into warm, not boiling, water or dashi broth. Add dried seaweed, cubed tofu, and scallions. Do this after removing the pot from heat. 1 bowl daily. This single bowl is doing several things at once. It is seeding your gut with beneficial bacteria. It is delivering prebiotic compounds that feed and grow your existing bacterial populations. It is providing glutamate, a naturally occurring amino acid that promotes satiety. And the warm liquid itself slows eating pace, which gives your gut hormones time to signal fullness to your brain before you have overeaten. Think about the last time you ate something warm and satisfying that also happened to be actively rebuilding your digestive system. That is what 1 bowl of real miso soup does. Food 4. Seaweed. Seaweed contains a unique carotenoid compound called fucoxanthin, found almost nowhere else in the human diet, and what fucoxanthin does is specific in a way that most fat-fighting compounds are not. It targets visceral fat directly by increasing the expression of UCP1 in white adipose tissue, essentially nudging white fat cells toward behaving more like brown fat cells, fat storage cells beginning to act like fat-burning cells. Several animal and preliminary human studies have observed significant reductions in abdominal fat with regular fucoxanthin consumption. Eat 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame or kombu 3 to 4 times per week. Add it to miso soup, rice bowls, or salads. It rehydrates in minutes. The fiber it contains, including a specific type called alginate, also slows glucose absorption after meals, blunting the blood sugar spikes that trigger fat storage. Food 5. Fatty fish. 3 servings per week of salmon, mackerel, or sardines. Minimum 284 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, per serving. These omega-3s do 2 things directly relevant to everything we have discussed. They maintain brown adipose tissue activity, keeping that fat-burning furnace operational. And they reduce systemic inflammation throughout the body, particularly the chronic low-grade inflammation that visceral fat generates and feeds on. Grill or bake. Never deep fry. High heat in inflammatory oils destroys the omega-3 structure and introduces the exact compounds you're trying to reduce. And now, the specific piece I promised you at the beginning of this video. We talked about food number 3, miso soup, and how it delivers both probiotics and prebiotics simultaneously. But the deeper reason this matters comes down to what those bacteria produce once they are established in your gut. When your beneficial gut bacteria ferment the fiber from miso, seaweed, barley, and fermented vegetables, they produce short-chain fatty acids, specifically a compound called butyrate. Butyrate does two things that are critical for fat regulation. First, it strengthens your intestinal lining, preventing inflammatory molecules from leaking into your bloodstream, the process behind what researchers call leaky gut. Second, it communicates directly with your brain through the gut-brain axis to suppress appetite hormones. Not by willpower, not by discipline, by biology. You feel genuinely full, not deprived, not suppressed, satisfied. This is why Japanese people eating this way naturally consume fewer calories without ever counting them. The gut bacteria are managing the signals. That is the mechanism most Western diet programs have completely missed. And it is the reason restriction-based dieting always fails long-term. You cannot willpower your way past hormones. You have to fix the system producing those hormones. Let that settle for a moment. To make this practical, structure your meals using a Japanese framework called Ichiju Sansai. 1 soup, 3 sides, plus rice. 1 bowl of miso soup. 1 protein serving, fish, tofu, or natto. 2 small vegetable sides. A serving of mixed grain rice with at least 30% barley. This framework naturally produces a high fiber, moderate protein, portion-appropriate meal without measuring anything. Add the hara hachibu principle, eat to 80% fullness, and stop. It takes roughly 20 minutes for your gut satiety hormones to reach your brain. When you stop at 80%, by the time those signals arrive, you feel completely satisfied. This habit alone reduces caloric intake by 15 to 20% without any sense of deprivation. And spread your fermented foods throughout the day. Natto at breakfast, miso at lunch, pickled vegetables at dinner. This creates a continuous supply of beneficial bacteria rather than one large dose your gut cannot fully utilize. The most important thing I can tell you about this entire approach is this. Consistency is the mechanism. Your gut microbiome takes 4 to 8 weeks to meaningfully restructure. These foods do not work after 3 days. The Japanese are not lean because they tried these foods once. They eat them every single day, every year of their lives. Consistency is not a bonus habit here. It is the biological requirement. Here is what I want you to leave with today. Your metabolic health is not determined by your age. It is not locked into your genetics. When researchers track Japanese populations that move to Western countries and adopt Western diets, their obesity rates rise to match their neighbors within a single generation. This is not a genetic story. It is a dietary one. The systems that keep you lean, a diverse gut microbiome, active brown adipose tissue, low systemic inflammation, stable blood sugar regulation, all of these exist inside your body right now. They are not broken. They are waiting for the right signals. And those signals come from your plate. Start with one food this week. Natto at breakfast. 1 bowl of unpasteurized miso soup daily. 1 cup of properly prepared matcha. You do not need to overhaul everything at once. You need to start consistently. And one more thing. Measure your waist circumference weekly, not your weight. Visceral fat loss is the true marker of metabolic improvement. The scale will not always show you what is actually changing inside your body. If this gave you something real today, share it with someone who has been struggling with stubborn weight or low energy for years. Most people navigating these issues have never heard this information. They deserve to. And if you want to go deeper, my videos on brown fat activation and gut microbiome optimization are right here on screen. I think you will find them just as useful. I will see you there.